care of yourself. So students, today we are going to discuss our 11th chapter, that is digestion. In this chapter you will discuss about the structure of the digestive system, what are various organelles that are concerned, how the digestion occurs, and activity of various enzymes. And moreover, there are certain experiments also that are related with the digestion. So now let us start the chapter. Now basically, what is the need for digestive system? See, now in the previous chapter we have discussed that we need the food. Now food is a complex thing. It cannot be utilized in the same form in our body. First of all, it need to be changed into simpler form that can be properly absorbed by our blood, and finally it can reach to each and every cell in our body. So now certain foods like cane sugar, that is already soluble in water, but they also still they require the breaking down into their simpler molecules. So now first of all we will discuss what is digestion. So now digestion in the simpler form, if one can tell the definition, that means a breakdown of any naturally occurring foodstuffs that we are taking into a diffusible form. Diffusible form means which are into a soluble form. Digestion can be an any change which makes the food soluble and of such chemical nature that they can be easily absorbed by the nature. Now basically, before discussing the digestive system, there is one topic, that is enzymes. See, for the digestion in our body we require certain enzymes. Now what are enzymes? These are actually a type of biochemicals which help to break down the food. Means in their presence the food get broken down into the different forms. So what are the characteristics here they have given? It is a protein and therefore can be destroyed by heating. It acts only on, I mean, particular enzyme will be acting on a particular type of substance only. Means it will be specific in function. It always form a same end product for the substrate, and it only affects me, basically it is playing what the role the catalyst is playing, the same role it's playing. It's only affect the rate of a chemical reaction and always enhance the speed of the reaction. So it act best only in a particular pH. We will discuss further. They will get activated in, some enzyme will activate only in acidic medium, while some will activate only in a basic medium. Now we are going to begin our digestive system. Digestive system basically consists of two parts, that is the alimentary canal and the digestive gland. Now alimentary canal, let us I will show you the structure under, which is on the next page, that you can look also in figure 11.1. It is a muscular tube which start from the mouth and which ends up to the anus. Means it is just about 9 meter long and it is highly coiled structure which is furthered by different regions. And along with that there are certain glands also associated. Basically two major glands that are associated with our digestive system is the liver and the pancreas. And one more gland, that is salivary gland, is also there. So now we are going to discuss about the various organs of the digestive system in detail. Now first, as you look in this diagram also, first organ is the mouth. Our digestive system starts from the mouth. Now mouth is also called as an oral cavity. Actually it is a space where food is chewed and mixed with the saliva. And the tongue, muscular tongues that help in masculating. Masculating means it is allowed to mix the food with the saliva. It also help in tasting and cleaning the food particles also from the teeth. Now in the food, another organ is teeth, that serve as a form of dentition. Now basically teeth have very special role. They cut and break the food into simpler bits. So small size bits are then relatively means what, they will have a large surface area and it will be easy for the enzyme to act on them for better digestion. And moreover teeth also helps in speaking also. And you are knowing also, we have already discussed, basically there are four types of the teeth, that is incisors, that are front four teeth in the center of each jaw, and they have a cutting edges are there, broad and sharp like a chisel, and basically they are used for biting and cutting. Canines that are present on the either sides. You can see in this diagram also. Canines are present on the either sides of each jaw. They are conical, and see a picture is shown here of the diagram of each individually also. They are conical in each jaw, and they are sharply pointed for holding and tearing the food. See, canines are more prominent in the flesh eating animals. Premolars, these are two on each side of the jaw, which is next to the canines, and each premolar has two hills like projections. You can see these projections are there, hill like projections are there, and the surface, and that's why we are calling it as a bicuspid also. They basically helps in grinding and the crushing of the food. Molars, these are the last three teeth, and you can see these are having uh, three projections are there, three cusps are there. These are the tricuspids. Basically, they are known as the principal grinders and the crusher of the foods. And the last molar, this is called as a wisdom teeth. These are so called because they appear at the just at the age of 17 to 20, when the human being body is reaching the maturity. And children, I want to remind you now, your this wisdom teeth is still one serve as one of the vestigial organ also these days. It is not properly helping in the form of the digestion. So the human or the mammalian teeth are different in shape, and therefore they are called as heterodont, because all the teeth are having different shapes. So that's why they are known as the heterodonts. Now see, we are having two sets of the teeth. First are called as the temporary or deciduous teeth that fall as a result of their roots being dissolved, and that in your age, that is 6 to 7 years, and then after that they are replaced by the permanent teeth, means up to 12 years after that you lose that. And number of the permanent teeth that are usually indicated in a formula that is called as dental formula. Now here different dental formulas are given, they can ask you in the paper also. Like dental form of human child, these are represented first as incisors, then canines, then premolars, then the molars. So human adult, that is a part of your exercise also. We are human adult is having a 32 pairs of teeth. Each jaw they are representing. Now next we are going to discuss about the structure of the tooth. Very important. This is the diagram. Now see, uh, each tooth that will consist of a crown or the part exposed above the gum. This part which is exposed out, this part is known as the crown, and the part which is exposed above the gum, that is called as the root. This one. So this is the root and this is the crown. And they are embedded in a cup like socket of the jawbone. Now see, the root will further consist of single processes, or so next is the enamel. Enamel is, or it is also called as ivory. It is a material which covers the crown. It is the hardest substance of the body. Now dentine. Dentine that forms the, this is the, you can see labeling. This diagram can come in the paper as a form of labeling also. They can also put it as a to draw also. That form the bulk of the tooth, mean maximum portion is being formed by this dentine. It is harder than the bone but not as much as that of the enamel. And this is the part which is supplied with the, it have a minute canals through which runs the strands of cytoplasm, and they will form a cavity, that is in a pulp cavity. Next is the cement. You can see the next structure in this is cement. Now what is the cement? That is the another bone like structure covering the and fixing the root in the position. And pulp, this is pulp. Pulp is a soft connective tissue contained in the central space, that is in the pulp cavity of the tooth, which basically consists of the blood vessels, capillaries, lymph vessels, and the nerve fibers, which are continuous below those of the body through the opening of the pulp cavity. So this was all about the structure of the tooth. Now next we are going to discuss about the salivary glands. Now the salivary glands. See, the saliva that is secreted by in our mouth, that is by a pair of three glands. First pair is known as parotid gland that are just located in front of and beneath your ears, each ear. Second one is the submandibular glands that are just lying close to your inner side of your lower jaw on the each side, and the third one is the sublingual gland that are below your tongue. And children, ducts from each gland, they transport the secreted saliva finally into the mouth. Small quantity of saliva you must have seen is always being continuous secretly in your mouth, and while eating also saliva flows in a considerable increased amount. Sometimes even just a sight or smell of that particular type of the food or tasty food, that also increase the secretion of the saliva, and we term it as a watering of the mouth. If we talk about the pH of the saliva, saliva is slightly acidic. Its pH is 6.8. Basically it containing the water, 99% is water, and other things are like salt, mucus, and enzyme salivary amylase. And other name of salivary amylase is ptyalin. This is an enzyme which helps in the breakdown of maltose glucose into maltose. Now, what are the functions are given? We have already discussed only. They lubricate and moisten the food. They act as a solvent. They helps the food particles stick together. So they will change into a one form. After entering the food into form, that change into a bolus form, so that they can easily be passed through the our that is food pipe, and they digest the food starch. Like starch will be digest in the presence of salivary amylase. It will change into maltose. And next is, after that, a movement is happening. Next part is coming as your food pipe, or we also call it as esophagus. In the esophagus, the continuous wave of contraction and relaxation goes on, and that wave, that movement of the wall of this esophagus, that is known as the peristalsis movement. Basically the function of this movement is to carry the food from the mouth into the stomach. So you can look also. So the food will be passed from here with the help of the food pipe. Food pipe is also called as esophagus, that simply conducts the food from the throat to the stomach. Now next comes the stomach. Now children's stomach is a J-shaped organ which is just serve as an elastic bag which is just located below your diaphragm. And its walls are highly muscular, and they churns the food thoroughly and mix it with the gastric juices. Now gastric juices are actually the digestive juices which are secreted by the inner lining of the stomach. So, and finally after that they will pour their secretion into the small intestine. Now just at the opening it has a ring of the wall that has sphincter muscles that keeps on opening the close like a valve like structure, so that to prevent the food passing from the stomach until it is thoroughly churned up. Means they will keep the food for the digestion in the stomach, then only it will open, and then it will pass the food into the next organ, that is the small intestine. So what happens in the stomach? Basically, see, stomach has three parts, that is mucus, then is digestive juices are there, and third is HCl. Now see, basically what is the role of HCl? HCl is an acid we are knowing. So the enzyme which I have to act of the food in the stomach, they will act only in an acidic medium. So that's why it activate that enzymes. Mean that enzyme like that will get activated only in the presence of the HCl. Basically that enzyme is pepsinogen. It is present in inactive form, and that will change into active form pepsin, which will act on the proteins and change into the peptides. And moreover it also kills the germs which come along with the food. You can see also, first enzyme is there pepsinogen, that is get activated in the presence of HCl. It will change into pepsin, and this pepsin will then act on proteins and finally change into peptides. And similarly one more enzyme is a prorannin, that also get activated in the presence of HCl and change into rannin, and that rannin will act on milk protein, that is casein, and will change into paracassin. So you have to keep in this mind that the food that stays for 3 hours in the stomach, and it will attain a pulpy form that is known as the chyme. So now after this, then the food passes into small intestine. Now what is a small intestine? It is a tube like structure which is 7 meter long and 2.5 centimeter wide. Why it is towards actually its size is bigger than large intestine, but it is coiled and folded. So that's why it is called a small intestine. It is further divided into three regions, that is duodenum, jejunum and the ileum. See the short upper part. That part is known as the duodenum, and the common bile duct that opens into this part. Next middle one part is the jejunum. It is nearly always empty after death, as it is found in the dissection also we come to know. And the last part is the ileum, which is about 4 meter long, and it is referred to as a twisting movement of this part. So now this inner lining of the ileum has a finger like projections that are known as the villi. Finger like, basically that function, villi function is to increase the surface area so that maximum absorption of the food could be taken place. And between the villi there are small holes are present through which the intestinal juice secreted by the glandular cells are poured into the lumen of the intestine. Now small intestine also serve the both functions, that is it helps in the digestion also, it helps in the absorption also. It receives two types of the juices, one is the bile, the second is the pancreatic juice in the duodenum, and its own wall also secrete the juices that are known as the intestinal juices, that in the ileum part. Now what is a bile? It is a yellowish green watery fluid that is produced in the liver, and basically it is transported by the hepatic duct. The bile may flow directly into the duodenum, or it can be generally, as it generally happens, but temporarily it can store into an organ that is known as the gallbladder. So here the bile gets stored, and normally the color of the bile, you can see it is yellowish green. Really it is used to presence of certain pigment that is known as biliverdin or bilirubin, that is produced by the breakdown of the dead and the worn out red blood cells. Now children, what is the function of the bile? See, bile, first of all, it emulsifies the fat. It will emulsify, means break down the fats into simpler forms, that is emulsified fats, and moreover it also provide the alkaline medium. See, earlier with the chyme which was coming from the stomach, that was acidic in nature. This bile, because it is having sodium bicarbonate, it adds sodium bicarbonate, so that's why it will change that acidic chyme into alkaline chyme. Because in the small intestine, whatever enzymes are there, they can act only in a basic medium. Then comes the pancreatic juice. This is produced by a whitish gland leaf like structure, that is pancreas, which is situated just behind the stomach, and its opening opens into duodenum by a aperture common, that is both for the bile duct, and it will secrete enzyme. First is amylopepsin, that will digest the leftover starch. So you must have seen the starch digestion have already started in the mouth only, and the leftover starch digestion finally completes by the small intestine. It will change into maltose, and trypsin, that will act on the remaining proteins and polypeptide to produce the smaller peptides and amino acids. So trypsin is the first secreted, as you can see already in the pepsin there, that was secreted in active form. This trypsin is also present in inactive form, that is trypsinogen, and in the presence of enzyme enterokinase it get activated, and then it will act on the proteins and peptides and change into smaller peptides and amino acids. Then amylase, that will act on the leftover starch and change into maltose, and this trypsin, that will act on a leftover, that is emulsified fat, into fatty acids and glycerol. After that, whatever breakdowns have happened there, then intestinal juice came into action. They contain enzyme, that is eripsin or peptidase, that converts the remaining peptides into amino acids, and the maltose that is converted into glucose by maltase, sucrose is converted into glucose fructose by sucrase, lactose which is a milk sugar that is converted by presence of enzyme lactase into glucose and galactose, and emulsified fats that are finally being changed into fatty acid and glycerol by the action of the lipase. Then after being changed into the simpler forms, absorption of food begins. So they are being absorbed directly into the blood by the help of the small finger like projection that are villi. So this is the main role of the small intestine. The next organ comes the large intestine. Now children, large intestine is also divided into three parts, that is cecum, colon and rectum. See the undigested food that passes into the large intestine. Now first cecum, that is a small blind pouch like structure that is situated at the junction of the large and the small intestine, and in between there is a narrow worm shaped tube is present that is called as vermiform appendix, which is also a vestigial organ. Today means vestigial means present time they are not functional. Next come the colon, that is a much broader part than the ileum, and what happens here, it passes up to the abdomen on the right side and left side also, means it will pass on both sides ascending. It will form two parts, that is the transverse colon and ascending column, and rectum is the last part, and it has an opening that is known as anus. So basically what is the function of these? Now colon that will absorb the water and some remains of the, that means if some bit of undigested food is also being passed here, so that is being absorbed again, and rectum that temporarily store the undigested food and the waste, and finally it will pass out through the opening that is known as the anus. Now next is what is assimilation of food. Assimilation is actually a conversion of absorbed digested food into the body material. So the food which is digested and absorbed by the gut, they are finally transported in two ways, either through the hepatic portal system or through the lymphatic system. Like sugars, amino acid, vitamin and minerals that are carried to liver by hepatic portal system, and where the liver will convert the excess glucose into glycogen, and that process is known as glycogen. It means whenever you need that glucose, again liver will reconvert into glucose. So glucose we know that is required in our body tissue as a source of energy in cellular respiration only. So the amino acid that will circulate in the body, and they will serve as the building blocks of the proteins. So they cannot be stored, and if any excess amino acids are there, that will be broken down by liver. That process is known as deamination, and the fatty acid and glycerol that will be absorbed by the gut and are transported mainly through the intestinal villi and lymphatic system. So some fats will be used in synthesis of certain compounds in body cells, while excess of them will deposit chiefly below the skin, and they will be forming a fatty layer in the skin. And next, liver we have already discussed, that is the largest gland of the body, and it is reddish brown, located, they can sometimes they can ask the location, they are located on the upper right side of the abdomen just below the diaphragm. Children, here certain experiments are given, like how you can do that, what is the action of saliva on starch, how we can prepare. Just they said that you can prepare one suspension of some starch by heating a 1 gram of it in a 100 ml of water, and then you put that suspension in 2 test tube. What you will do, uh, in one test tube you will take a little starch suspension, in the third test tube also add to it equal amount of saliva, which you may collect earlier by chewing some wax, and then you will hold the test tube in your hand for 15 minutes in a warm. What you will see that the positive starch will show that the presence of the starch, means that the last test tube that will show the presence of the starch. Similar manner further experiments are there, just go through this and understand them proper manner. Thank you, have a nice day.